Zain, how's it going?
That's your first question.
It's going well. You gotta say hi.
Do you?
I don't know. Do you?
No.
I can cut it out.
Just start. Do you care how I'm doing?
Yeah, I do actually.
Why?
I like you.
Oh, that's cute.
I don't think I actually ever told you.
That you were in love with me?
Yeah. How's it go? The first, my first impression of you.
Hang on, let me put down this drink. Actually,
I want to tell you my first impression of you
uh-oh.
because, as you know, we first met in a Christo workshop.
Yes.
I was sitting on the other side of the room, but I noticed you weren't there the first day. You were only there the second day. That was the card? Okay.
Yeah.
You were like, I was like, that guy's like fidgety. That guy is like, yeah, you.
Oh.
But you were like quiet, and then you spoke, and you did not stop, and you went off about your love for Janet Jackson.
Oh, did I?
And you started swearing, but then you're like, am I allowed to swear? And he was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And instantly I was like, I want to be friends with that guy.
Okay.
Everyone in the room was like really cool
Yeah.
and stuff too. But instantly I was like, that guy. And I think it was the combo of like your unashamed authenticity, which I'm super attracted to in like friendships and people who I want to surround myself with. But also you didn't fit the mold of the room
Oh.
in a good way.
What does that mean? Where was the mold of the room? The mold of the
But like you kind of seemed outside of that box. I think Christo probably has like a following.
Okay.
And there was a lot of people in that room who maybe look up to him, were in the same demographic as him. And I really mean this in like a positive way because I was like, I want to be friends with that guy. That came in with a different energy, a positive energy. And so what I kind of wanted to talk to you about is how important authenticity is in today's kind of world and where maybe like it intersects with like being in like online authority. Not authority like a bad way, but authority like people look up to you and trust you. Does that make any sense?
Well, that's not a question. That's a statement.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to like share. It's
Yeah.
very true. That wasn't a question.
Yeah.
But the question would be,
Oh my God, am I in nightmare interview? Because I'm like calculating it. I'm like, where's this going? How do I edit?
I think you're too smart. I think like, I think you're very smart and good at interviewing, as you have a history of doing that.
Yeah.
And interviewing very important big name people. And you're very quick to pick up what's wrong with a situation in the media world and like how to fix it.
Yes.
You're very quick and good at that.
Thanks. I don't think it's the thing about wrong. I think it's about assessing a situation and going, what do we do with this? Where do we go from this? Yes, I think very quickly. I think it's interesting. I think some people think I'm too reliant on AI, but I'm like, AI doesn't give me my ideas. AI writes them out for me or parses them for me. And what I get, so I have two accounts. I have an enterprise account with ChatGPT through my work. And then because I used it so much, I got a plus account. I fight with the plus account all the time because I think ChatGPT 5 tries to be too cool and conversational. I'm like, don't talk to me like that. Yeah. You're not a person. You don't know me. Well, you do know me. You know everything about me, but you're not a person.
Yeah.
So stop trying to be cool. Like,
Yeah.
if it writes no fluff, let's be blunt, no sugarcoating, I fight it all the time. I'm like, stop it. I always have to say, please talk to me like you are my enterprise account. But it keeps up. It thinks faster than me. It thinks as fast as me. It can take an idea and it can refine it so that it can parse it down and I can look at it critically. Because the thing is, when I have ideas and I don't have anyone to bounce it off of, I can't edit it. And it's not that I'm lazy. It's like I'm not disciplined enough to write it out by hand. So I appreciate that it'll take it, do it, and go. And then I can go, okay. And then I can also get feedback and go, that's not. And I always say, like, please do not be pandering. Do not big me up, just be honest. Yeah. So I think that is why I like the robots in some aspects. And sometimes people are like, I can't keep up with you. Because I'm like, my brain at any given time is like 14 tabs open. And then when I pause, it's like the little beach ball on a Mac where it's like pausing and loading. I'm doing that, I'm loading right now. I'm like, okay. So sometimes I'm like, wait, am I part robot? The theory is that we're all living in a simulation. And I'm like, yeah. And sometimes I think I glitch out. So now it's like, everyone's like, is he insane? But I think that's just how I think very quickly. And it's interesting you say I walk into a room where I feel a room of creatives, but there are different tiers of creatives and how they express themselves, not even how they express themselves through their art, but how they decide to show up. And I think I do that in different ways. Like I am wearing a vinyl jacket right now that is very warm, but you are wearing neon green hair that looks like a tennis ball, right? Like it is a choice to show up in different ways. Like I have a little bit of purple in my hair and I forget that sometimes because it's not outrageous. But I went to the grocery store, some lady was like, is your hair dyed? Like, I'm like, can you just ring the stuff through? Why do you? And I'm like, oh yeah, it is dyed.
Yeah.
And it's purple.
I get people looking at me on the street.
Like they're scared of you?
I was like, what's their problem?
And they're thinking it's your problem.
I have green hair, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Because you can't see it, right? You can't see how people interpret that. And then people just don't see these things all the time. So, yes, think quickly, show up differently. That's how I operate. Authenticity is always such an overused term. Be authentic. Sometimes I don't want to be authentic. I don't know you. If the internet, you're seeing something. When I was in theater school, I went to UBC theater, and I wasn't in the BFA acting program. I was in the general arts program, and I got to take a lot of different courses. And one of my teachers, Kate Weiss, who went on to be the head of the theater department at the University of Alberta, she once said, directing a show that was a really dark show called Lion in the Streets that I was in, and she said, always keep something to yourself. But another term I've heard too is that acting is being private publicly. And I don't want to be private publicly sometimes. You know, when my parents passed during the pandemic, I'm like, I don't want people to see my brand as grief. In hindsight, it probably might have helped me and helped other people, but I didn't want to be grief boy. So I kind of kept to myself and I didn't post anything for years. Even though my job was that before on Daily Hive to create content about other people's stuff and, interviewing people. It's always been about telling other people's stories, but I didn't really want to tell mine. And still sometimes now I'm like, I don't want to, because I don't know who's going to see this. And then it's like, then they show up and then they know everything about you. And I'm like, I don't know you, but you know everything about me? I'm not even famous. Like, I don't know how famous people like and it's weird too, because some people were famous. Like, I just went like, oh, what's his name? Austin Butler. He's like, I don't really like being looked at or seen, but I've chosen a weird profession because that's what acting is. But acting is different. And then PR is a different game. And we want our movie stars and pop stars to be able to play both games. But like, you go to Beyoncé and she's mastered that. She's like, I don't ever need to do an interview again. I think that in my time at eTalk, I was in the last wave of interviewing her. I'd like to think I made her laugh. I'd like to think I was funny enough to make Beyoncé laugh, but she doesn't do interviews anymore. So maybe she's like, that's the reason why we don't do this shit anymore. You made Blue Jacket.
You made her quit.
Yeah, she's like, F this shit. But she controls the narrative now with social media. You can put out the story you want to put out. So what is the story you want? And you can fabricate a character, but I guess authentic is, you can still be a character and be authentic because the character's so authentic to you, right? Like if we, to quote RuPaul, we're all born naked and the rest is drag. Right now, costume, right? We decide how we want to present ourselves to the world. And then how people react to that and how we react to people reacting to us. It's all like, it's a game, it's a show. And it's like, well, how do you want to show up? And I think that is what authenticity is. Is it true to you? Is it true for you? And can you be consistent in it? I'm trying to think if there's another way of it. And the easiest way to be is like, that's just who I am. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
But then there's other ways that you're like, well, this is how I'm going to consistently present myself. Like when you think of like Madonna over the years, like she was always brash and bold, like in the 80s and the 90s, but she was authentic to herself. If Michael Jackson started presenting himself as like a sexual pioneer, like Madonna did, we wouldn't take it seriously. He tried. He had a song called In the Closet. And she's like, then he actually wanted her to be the voice on it. Do you remember that song?
I don't.
No. How old are you?
I had Michael Jackson CDs.
How old are you?
37.
Okay, you're like close enough to me. So do you remember the album Dangerous?
Yes.
Okay, it's so funny because he always named it as like, he was like such a rebel, right?
Yeah.
Thriller, bad, dangerous, invincible. But on that Dangerous album, he had a song called In the Closet.
Okay.
And it's billed as like Prince Stephanie of Monaco. I don't know, Princess Stephanie of Monaco. I don't know if that's a real person, but sang the vocal. It's supposed to be a duet with Madonna. But she declined it because she's like, do you know what this song is about? Like, do you know what that term means? And he's like, yeah, it's funny. She's like, you know what people say about you, right? He's like, yeah, it's funny. It's like, he thinks sex is funny, something to giggle about, right? Where she, even though people now are like, oh, Madonna, you're so old, like get over yourself, stop the plastic surgery. Like she's a pioneer. Like none of these other people would exist without her. I think I saw, who was it? Was it Hall & Oates? Somebody recently was talking about the VMAs. I don't know if it's Hall & Oates or somebody else from that era, but I don't think it was Van Halen or Def Leppard, but something like that.
Right.
And they said that Madonna is the one who set up the thing where you go on, do a show, and you have backup dancers behind you. People didn't used to do that before. I don't know if Michael Jackson did that before, or she did it first. And then Janet did it. Like I called it gang dancing.
Yeah.
Where it's like the stars in the front, everyone's dancing in the back. Now all the female pop stars do that. Men have kind of moved it away. Usher doesn't, he's not in the thing. And Justin Timberlake, rest in peace. But Benson Boone, all he does one flip, and everyone's like, "You're amazing. Do more." But anyways, all those things that those people do is authentic to themselves, right? If John Legend came out and then all of a sudden had a bunch of backup dancers coming out to one of his songs, his ballad songs, you'd be like, what is that? That's not authentic to his brand. It would be very interesting, but you'd be like, what is that? It would be a pivot of a choice. Same thing, well, even Taylor Swift, when she started coming out in those leotards and boots, and I'm like, Beyonce light, and then got backup dancers. First I was like, what are you? But now she's like, no, this is my, she stuck with it and she owned it, right?
Yeah.
And it's one of her phases, one of her eras, as she calls it. So I think we can all go through those stages and still be authentic as we change, but is it true to ourselves in that time and place? Oh my God, Taylor Swift solves it all.
So then where, for a personal brand, where does strategy of maybe choosing what sides of your story you share, but also freedom of expression, like Beyonce brought out Cowboy Carter, not on brand, and in my opinion was kind of weird. Okay. So she started Destiny's Child, then her solo thing.
Your dad started Destiny's Child.
Yeah, but that's where she started.
She started out in this.
Yeah. And then solo, and then she did Cowboy Carter.
Yeah.
So there is
those are the three things. You're like, Destiny's Child, whole bunch of shit in the middle, Cowboy Carter, which I did not like.
There was tracks I liked, but it was different.
Sure.
And it was it probably wasn't what people expected from her and of her. Right. So where does staying in your lane, but then also exploring other ideas of that a creative may have? Does that make any sense? So I'm a headshot photographer specializing in corporate photography and videos. I tell their corporate story, their community initiatives, everything kind of to do with corporate. But I also love skateboarding and do skateboard content. And I also have my kids and do kid content. But it feels weird for me, and outside of that personal brand, to do something skateboarding or to have green hair but at the same time I still feel like I'm being more myself when I do things like paint my nails, but it's not in that corporate box. So what advice for strategy for creatives do you have with that overused word authenticity? Does that make any sense? He's loading, he's thinking, he's glitched.
What's the question? Because there's lots of things, right?
There's lots of things in there. I can narrow the question down. So what is your advice for creatives creating a personal brand who have a target market, but then they also want to show some fringe areas of their life, or explore new things, going from a Beyonce being in a girl band to doing a country record?
Yeah, but that's also over 30 years. She didn't just do that in 1 year. Right? So I think that's an outlier example to go R&B group from the 90s to country album. But not even, she doesn't even say it's not a country album. There's a quote where she's like, this isn't a country album. This is a Beyonce album.
Right.
She's honoring her roots. She came from the South in America, right? Is that what they call it? The South? Not South America. The South, the Deep South? I don't know if Texas is the Deep South. I don't know what the Deep South is. But she came from that area, right? So she's honoring where, but it's a progression, because she had her solo career when she put out Formation. What album was that? Was that Lemonade? And there's that line. It said, my dad, Louisiana, I don't know what the lyrics are, but she talks about her dad's heritage, her mother's heritage. Was it her dad's nose or her husband's nose is Jackson 5, wide, right? Versus Michael Jackson later in years. Yeah. And so she's addressing her roots. With this album, she was kind of telling our story. She did daddy lessons with the Dixie Chicks. She performed them at the CMAs. They were like, F you, what are you doing in our award show? You're not getting any awards. And so she just put out a whole album. That album was actually written before the Renaissance album.
I heard that, yeah.
But she put Renaissance out because after the pandemic, she's like, people just need to dance. So again, she had this body of work. There's still a third album coming out, apparently. And she's like, this is the story I want to tell. So I think in the longest way possible to answer your question is like, what's the story you're telling? So you're a headshot photographer. Okay. What do you want me to do about that? I want you to hire me. Okay, so why should I hire you? Because I'm good at my work. Okay, cool. Well, I should hope so. So what else? And you're like, well, this is what I stand for. I'm a family man. I'm a quirky creative because I will do this like on a tatted sleeve. A lot of people have tatted sleeves, painted nails, a lot of painted nails. Not a lot of people have neon green hair, right? And I think that can become your signature and your style, right? Like, even when I was talking to somebody who's a drag performer and they were like, I got to do a show and I got to come up with a new number and a new costume. I'm like, why? Why would you do that? A comedian doesn't go to a club and then write a brand new set every night. And they may do new jokes, but they're going to go back to their fallbacks when the new jokes tank, right? Or an artist is going to do like a bunch of club dates. They're not going to do brand new songs for the whole set. They might, but probably they've been like, here are my staples, here are my standards, and I'll put in some new things I'm workshopping, either as a new song or a new take on a thing. Keep doing the thing that you get better as you iterate the things you know, and then you can interpolate new things. I think coming back to like the brand and the storytelling, it's like, you have 3 different verticals. So people are like, oh, he doesn't just do office photos. I'm a family man. I like skateboarding. Right there, it differentiates you, makes you more interesting. Like anybody, like whatever we watch now, everything is so fractured in pop culture. But the things that we watch and resonate with are multifaceted characters. No one's just a villain. They're like, I want to win because I think my point of view is the best. And now this other person who puts on a bat costume is thwarting my plans. I know what's right for this city. So really, who's the villain? The Joker or Batman? Joker, because he's like murderous and kills everyone. But Batman's pretty crazy too. You know what I mean?
Those are my favorite stories where like the story sets up a good guy, but then they start doing questionable things where you're kind of still rooting for them and be like, why am I rooting for them?
Yeah.
And then stories can also make you empathize with the villain. So like Breaking Bad, Walter White, like he was the main character. He was also he ended up being a really bad guy.
Okay.
It was do you watch Breaking Bad?
No. I should watch it. It's one of our things at work, but I've never seen it.
Yeah.
It's just like when the show's been around for so long, you're like, you know what's popular? You're like, if I start watching this, I will never stop watching it.
Yeah.
It's like The Office. I want to watch The Office, but I'm like, I cannot. Like, I love Superstore.
Superstore was so good.
Superstore was so good until the last pandemic season where I'm like, oh,
Yes, of course. Yeah.
You should have pretended they didn't wear masks. But Superstore was so good. It made me want to. No, it didn't make me want to. It made me feel like I worked in a big box store. And it was cute because I worked, my first real paid job was at a music store, like HMV. And so I kind of knew that vibe, but I never worked in a big box store. And I don't think I'd ever want to, but it romanticized it and made it go, this is fun. And I love a sense of community. And that's what was so good about that show and Parks and Rec. And that's why I think I love The Office, but I'm like, what is it? 8 seasons, 10 seasons? I ain't got time for that.
Yeah, it's a commitment.
So no.
Left field question. Just like how were you as a student, like elementary, high school?
Like how, like it's like smarts or socially?
Like schoolwork, like teachers, report cards.
I think it was always probably that bullshit of like, talks too much in class, disruptive. I'm like, well, first of all, your lessons aren't hard enough. Secondly, control your class then. I'm sorry, you're boring. But I was that kid, I was a straight A student.
Okay.
But I think because my parents were like immigrants, I'm like, you better do good in school. I don't think I had any interest in it. I don't think I remember anything from school. Even in university, I don't remember classwork. I remember life experiences. Like at the time of this recording, I'm about to have my 30-year high school reunion. And I don't remember high school being awesome, but because I have a bad memory and a selective memory, I only remember good vibes. Right. Like I think I hated high school. I think it was miserable. I think. No, I'm pretty sure it was. I should go back and read I kept journals, right?
Kept journals, nice.
So I should read those. They would probably be very funny. Just angsty, It might be disturbing. But
read them on camera for content.
But for whom? See, that's the thing. If you don't have a point, don't just put shit out there. Like, why? Like, I think that's the biggest question that I have. Like, what is your point? Like when you asked earlier about brand and everything, what's your point? For me, going back to the high school reunion thing, it's like I got on the grad committee and I'm not the most organized person, but I just shoot out ideas. I'm like, do some of these, and they agreed to do some of these. But I think it's like, I just want to reconnect with a simpler time. And it wasn't just the school, but it was like, you come home, and this is what I think is what's missing in pop culture, which I don't think we'll ever have again, is that in the 80s and the 90s, because I don't really remember, I wasn't alive in the 60s and I was too young in the 70s, but in the 80s and the 90s, you had appointment television. You had appointment music drops. Like I mentioned, Michael and Madonna. Like growing up, my parents' parents were from India. They were from Africa. When we came to Canada, I didn't know pop culture. Like my parents watched Hindi movies, which I did not like, which is funny because I really like musical theater. And so I'm like, I guess it seeped in somehow. Yeah. But I didn't know, like I remember seeing E.T. I saw parts of Star Wars. I was like, this is scary. And then I didn't know anything else. I knew Madonna, I knew Michael Jackson, but I didn't know 80s music. So when I like got the job at the music store, like I learned a bunch of things. And on TV, it's like, because I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, but the TV characters are my friends. So Saved by the Bell, love them. 90210, loved it. Thursday night, the Huxtables, then A Different World. I didn't really get Cheers. I didn't really get like Friends. I was like, I really get it. Seinfeld, to this day, cannot stand those people. Not the actors, but like the characters.
The characters are narcissists.
Not for me. Friday, TGIF on Friday nights. Comfort. What are you doing Friday night? Hanging with Urkel. That's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Nerd. And then Saturday morning, right? Saved by the Bell and whatever else was on. And again, I loved He-Man. I loved She-Ra. I loved Gem and the Holograms. Like I loved 80s and 90s pop culture. And I think that brought people together. Now everything's so fractured. And I'm like, is that manifesting why the world is so fractured? I would argue probably yes, because we don't have commonality. And I think politics and sports replace that. And sports is just, to me, stats and like, I don't care. And politics, I'm like, well, it's not, politics shouldn't be entertainment. Politics should be governing the betterment of society. I think, maybe, I don't know. So, but that's where I think people are finding their community. And I think that's what's missing. We have a lack of community. I don't have a sense of belonging. I can't figure out where to live. I don't know where I fit in. To go back to your question about school, I was a straight A student because I didn't know what else to do. And I just don't think I fit in at all. Like wild, crazy, kind of a nerd. I don't know what the difference between a nerd and a geek is, but I was like one of those, was not athletic, did do, like I was in the high school play. I played Bernardo in West Side Story, which would never happen today because I'm Indian, not Puerto Rican, but that's what they did. It's like all the white people got to be the Jets and then all the brown people. So me and a bunch of ESL students that they recruited were the rest. I'm like, this is so racial. But, and the girl who played my sister, Maria, blonde, white, blonde. She wouldn't dye her hair. So she wore the jankiest wig. Mandy, you know, we talked about this. But yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. But I did that. I was in a comedy group. So somebody on the grad committee goes, oh, you were so popular at high school. I'm like, I was? I think I had 2 friends. I knew a lot of people. I think there's a difference between having friends and knowing people. Yeah. And I think that's even like the same thing with like when you build an audience in social, right? You have like people who are like, I'm aware of you, but do they like, are they following you? Are they fans? Are they customers? There's a difference, right? So it's like, how do you cultivate your community, either socially or professionally? I don't know if there's a different kind of community that you cultivate, but I think those are the two. There's like a personal one and then a professional one.
Yeah, I think like online, like successful online people say they have a community and that's their market. And then like we were saying, Lizzo created a private page for her community and she's able to market more directly to them because now it's you post something and it just goes out into the algorithm and kind of whoever sees it. It's not necessarily to your fan base.
Yeah, and it's like I don't think people rely too much on the algorithm when really it's just the audience. And it's like, did you cultivate an audience? You can't control the algorithm because you don't own that app that you're putting this content on, whatever you're watching this on right now. But you can own your newsletter. You can own word of mouth, building communities so people show up to an event in real life, which I think people crave. Sometimes people just want to get invited to things. People just want to be a part of things. And when you spray it onto the social, it's not even social. When you spray it on these platforms and just hoping somebody finds it, yeah, sometimes like, oh my God, that's what I was looking for. I want more of that. But then you got to guide them somewhere.
Yeah.
So it's not casual anymore. How do you go from casual acquaintance to meaningful relationship? And it's like, goes back to the Beyonce thing. That shit doesn't, well, sometimes maybe it does, but it takes a period of time and an evolution, and you got to keep showing up and bringing something new to the relationship. Maybe not new, fresh, better, different, more, better, or different. Doesn't mean you have to reinvent yourself every time, because someone's gonna be like, what? If you showed up all the time and your hair was a different color, but then they could be like, I get it, because your hair's always a different color. That's what he does. He dyes his hair. But if you showed up like this, and the next thing you're like corporate gym, and you have a tie, and like your hair's like, brown, and like, and then the next day you're like in a polo shirt and like leather chaps. People are like, what? I don't understand. I can't figure you out. Like, but then we go back to the Beyonce example. She did that over 30 years. If she changed so much all the time, you'd like, I don't know who this artist is. Like, think of the artist, like, I'm going to use R&B references because that's what I know. But when you think of like the other women who came up in the 90s, it's like, what defined them? Can you explain who this person is, right? Like, we've talked about my passion for Janet Jackson, but she clearly went through eras, right? I'm going to break out from my parents, and that was a control era. Now I'm going to talk about social justice. That was the Rhythm Nation thing. Now I'm going to have a sexual awakening, the Janet phase. Now I'm going to talk about more sex and depression, a velvet rope. Now I'm going to talk about joy, all for you. And then my career's going to get fucked to the Super Bowl, and then I'm going to try to like be my authentic self, Demita Jo. And no one gave her the time of day. And then she kind of like, and now she's kind of having a bit of a resurgence going, I withstood the test of time. Like, you go see her show in Vegas right now, probably the best she's ever been. And because she's being authentic to herself. She is a 60-year-old woman. She's not trying to dance with 20-year-old girls. She's hired men who are moving at her speed and her stature. And it just looks, its costumes are great. The visuals are great. I'm like, that is authentic to her. She's not trying to be the Janet she was 30 years ago. It's great. So I think that ties into that too. It's like, how do you show up as you are now? Not as you were, not as you will be, but as you are now. I think that's what authenticity is. Ooh, that's good. That's gay.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
it. Took 40 minutes to answer your one question, but that's good.
It reminds me of a lot of things though. Like, one of my favorite creators is Ilana Glazer. You know Ilana Glazer? New York.
Comedian, is she like show?
She did Broad City.
Yes.
Broad City was very much them as bachelors. Are women bachelors?
Bachelorettes?
They lived alone. They were single New Yorkers.
Spinsters? No, I don't know.
They were single female New Yorkers. And Broad City was very much that, their single life.
Right.
Then she became a mother.
Yeah.
And now her content is all motherhood.
Okay.
But it's still authentic to who she is.
Because that's who she is now.
And that's not new anymore, but her recent movie, Babes, it was like the best film I've ever seen.
Oh.
But we were new parents. And so...
Right, and if I saw that, I'd be like, okay.
It's funny.
That's cute.
Yeah, it's funny, but it wouldn't hit the same.
No, because I wouldn't have a frame of context.
But she's evolving her career as she goes, and she's being her as she grows.
Yes.
I like that.
I think that's all we can do. I saw a post recently that Reid Hoffman, who created LinkedIn, there's a lot of things he predicted. He got in early on Airbnb. He got in early on some other stuff. And he's like, in about 10, 15 years, we will no longer have 9-to-5 jobs. We will all just be gig economy. And it's like, well, how do you actually get good at what you do? And how do you find the people who want what you have to offer? And that is a challenge for me. Like, I think, like, as we talked about this, I've evolved over the years. I've always been but I've always been involved in the entertainment industry. Started out as a kid going, I'm going to be an actor so I can get a talk show. And then I realized, why become an actor to become a talk show host? Just go become a talk show host. I also realized I'm a better director than I am an actor. Thing is, when you direct, it costs a lot of money, because then you need to find a producer, or you need to find a theater company, but you have to be in line with their values. And unfortunately, a lot of old white people go to the theater. And so then you have to do programming for that, because the theater is wildly expensive. It's not accessible to younger people now. And then the problem is, if you do stuff that's accessible to younger people, then the older audience is like, what is this? I don't want to watch this. I want to watch old people theater, right? Try not to like...
Yeah. Choose your words carefully.
I'm trying to choose my words carefully, even though I'm just like, I loved my time in the theater. I just don't know how I fit into it anymore. Right. Because I'm like, I don't really want to be an actor. Every time I audition for stuff, I never book it because I don't love it.
Right.
And it's not easy.
That probably shows.
Yeah, the problem is, this guy fucking sucks. He'd probably be better at directing the show, and probably would be, because I'd be like, It's like what you said. I can look at something, I can assess it and be like, this, how can I make this better, right? Like I pointed out to some women who live in my building because I'm on the strata, and I built a street garden. I did the plants upstairs first, and then I wanted to curry favor so I could build like this protective like barrier on our street. And some of the women were like, this is beautiful. And I'm like, you know what? My name in Arabic, Zain, means beautiful. And the woman was like, well, that's appropriate because you make things beautiful, which is interesting because I didn't know that. I don't know when I learned it. It must have been last decade. But when I hosted the show, How to Look Good Naked on the Oprah Network, I didn't know that. I should have tied that together. You know, when we think about if you knew then what you know now, like if I knew then about branding and marketing what I know now, I would have been like, we're going to make a underwear line, like what Kim Kardashian has with Skims. I would have Dainty Zainties, and it'd be like, we're going to do shapewear and underwear. I don't know if we'd call it, that's kind of a dumb name, like, because you want to feel sexy in your underwear. Sexy or it's practical, right? And calling it Dainty Zainties is a ridiculous name, but you know what I mean? That, put out a book, do a mall tour. We did none of that. And it's funny too, because my producer, who I really, really liked, supervising producer, I said, we need to start a Facebook page. And she's like, we can't do that. Can you imagine putting these pictures of women in their underwear on the internet? This is like before Instagram, right? And she's like, we can't do that. Like people would like tear these people apart. And I'm like, but that's what the authenticity part comes in. That's what this show is about. And we have to reach the people. And she's like, well, do you think Tom Cruise has a motherfucking Facebook page? And he still doesn't. No. But everybody else does. Like it goes back to the Beyoncé thing. Because of her Instagram page, she never needs to do interviews again. Because she's like, I want to let you know I'm doing this thing. I will communicate it through this way, artfully, but I'm in control. To the point that she doesn't even make music videos anymore, right? She controls her visual narrative. And we can all do that.
For somebody starting out, they're not Beyonce.
Okay.
Maybe they're starting out, maybe they're somewhere along the journey like myself. I've been a photographer for 20 years. I make a...
Is that starting out? That's not starting out.
But that's what I'm saying. But I'm not Beyonce. I'm not Annie Leibovitz.
Is she still alive?
Is
it Annie Leibovitz? Oh, you know who I was thinking? I know the name Annie Leibovitz, but if you're like, what has she, like, name a famous photo that she's done? I couldn't tell you because I'm not that versed in photography. I just thought of Ann Geddes and the babies in the cabin.
No. She's like Vanity Fair superstar photographer.
Sure, I know the name, but I'm just seeing.
You would know her photos.
Ann Geddes' work.
I'm not.
Annie Leibovitz is like.
I'm not Platon. Another.
I don't know. Platon?
Platon?
No. Is that a person?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Like one of the world's best photographers.
Oh, okay. I'll have to Google him.
Hope to God I'm saying that right.
Oh, see, you don't even know. Cool. Okay. Anyways, we're going to ask us.
I'm somewhere along the journey, and most people are somewhere along the journey. I think I can't just every now and then do a post and say something new is coming. I have to communicate way more than Beyonce or
that's what you're saying.
Those people. So for content creation, what is your advice around the people who are on the journey or like just doing their thing? Do you know what I mean? Like I want to give practical tips.
Okay.
I would love to give practical tips to people who feel defeated in their either personal brand or social media, traction online, that kind of thing. Those people and myself can't just put out a post a month and have it be like a big new thing.
No.
You have to show up regularly, tell your story. So what are your practical tips for doing that?
I think it goes back to the idea of answering the question in many ways, but it's the same question. What's your point? What is your point? What is your destination point? Where are you trying to get to? Doesn't mean you have to stay there forever when you get there. As we've talked about these artists who've evolved, but where are you going? And who are you bringing along with you for the ride? Not only as an audience, but as co-stars in the sitcom of your life, as players, NPCs in the game. Like, did you ever play Final Fantasy?
A couple times, but no, I was more
like Gauntlet.
More into Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Cool. So I don't know if they have multiple characters. I think it's like when it's a one player, one at a time, right? Yeah. But like when you think of those other games, or even like Super Mario Brothers, right?
Mario Brothers, yeah.
Like Luigi's a little bit different than Mario. Yeah. Toad and Princess have different skills, right? Yeah. They're all on the journey together.
Yeah.
Usually. And who are you bringing along? So who are the other characters you're bringing along? Who are you doing this for? Where are the pit stops along the way? So what are the points of interest? What is your point of view? How do you see things? As you've mentioned, as a skateboard enthusiast, as a family man, as a photographer, just those 3 pillars right there.
Mm-hmm.
How are your points of view different than mine? As a single man, 90s pop culture, nostalgia, chaotic creative, disruption director. You know, my point of view is always like, we could do it that way, or we could do it more, better, or different. Not say your way is wrong, but we can do it differently. That's my point of view.
More, better, or different.
More, better, or
I
different.
like that. More, better, or different.
Yeah, it's
Love
not an original thing. I've done a lot of. I'm a big fan of the intersection of pop culture and personal development.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would love to do. This is the problem. Sometimes my issue is not coming up with creative ideas. It's sustaining creative ideas. Or like I have no issue going to the gym once. It's like, oh, you gotta keep going back.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah. And then the thing is you miss, it's like once you lose momentum, then you're like, I'll miss that day. Might as well miss more, right? And where does that show up elsewhere in our lives, right? Not only in the content creation thing, but showing up for other people, showing up in our work, showing up in our relationships, right? You miss a couple of days, like, I'll call them later.
Yeah.
Well, next thing you know, it's 5 years later, it's 10 years, it's 30 years later. Even going back to high school reunions, some people have said, well, if I wanted to stay in touch with those people, I would have. Would you have? Well, here's your opportunity to reignite with people that you had a passage of time, experience and a passage of time with, and see if anything resonates. Or you could be like, F these people.
Yeah.
Cool. At least you did it, right? At least show up when you're invited. So I kind of made a point to be like, let's find the people that I would like to see and just call them up. You know, and some of them met me with icy responses. And I was like, okay. And some were like, we have a lot of catching up to do. And I'm like, yes. Yeah. Right? Not everyone's going to come back to the reunion episode. I think everyone's life is like a TV show, you know? Yeah. And you can all, even when the kids are always like, bring main character energy. How do you do that? You had a proper question in there, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was about showing, the point of view, what's the thing? So point of view, what is your perspective from the lived experience that you've had? Even like when you were talking about Elena Glazer, it's like, well, your perspective is different than mine because you're a father. Right? I had a father. My brother is a father. I have a nephew. I've been a high school teacher, but I never had my own kids. Different perspective. But it doesn't mean I don't have a point of view on how to be a parent. I think I could be a great father, but at this age, that shit ain't gonna happen, right? It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna do it. So how can I share that? That's something I gotta figure out. Point of origin. Where did it start? Again, going to Batman or Superman. Everyone can tell you, even Spider-Man, everyone can tell you how they started, how they became the hero, or not even the hero, because I think there's a moment where you become the hero, but how they got their power, right? Yeah. What was the inflection point that changed the direction? And even goes back to the idea of making it. We may think that when we're younger, I'm going to do this and this means I made it. Well, what does making it mean? That changes. Again, we'll go back to you being a family man. It's like once you have kids, you're like, well, my definition of somebody's like, I want to make it to Broadway. And I'm only successful in theater if I make it on Broadway. Well, according to who? And also people make it to Broadway. I'm like, do you know everybody who's on Broadway? No. Like as someone, I'm assuming you don't, I'm making an assumption, you just don't know a lot of Broadway stars, right? And I know a fair amount of Broadway. I like Broadway. I couldn't tell you who the big stars are unless they crossed over into like pop culture, like Idina Menzel or Darren Criss or Jonathan Groff, right? Audra McDonald maybe, because I don't know if she's done any TV stuff, but like you don't really know those people. No. So it's like, well, is that making it? Or is doing work that fulfills you, pays the bills? But then the issue there too is that going into those kind of businesses, there's not an abundance of opportunities. Like you can't, there's only a certain amount of Broadway shows and there's only a certain amount of roles. So if you're gonna be like, I will only make it if I win an Oscar, well, there's a lot of people out there who've been nominated and never won. There's a lot of people who've never even been nominated. There's a lot of people who don't even get cast, but it doesn't mean you can't be an actor somewhere else if you love it, right? But then again, does it have to be your profession? Like it doesn't need to be your profession. No. Someone can be a photographer and it doesn't have to be their career. Because it is your career, now it becomes a business. And because it's a business, as well, how do you market it? How do you advertise it? How do you use branding exercises and strategies to tell your story so other people are like, not only do I need that service, I need that service from that person. And then when you deliver this, when you have the opportunity to deliver a service, do you deliver it? I have two experiences in my last couple of weeks of I hired someone who I thought was going to show up and do a good job. I looked at their word. I talked to them. Their colleague gave them a vote of confidence. I hired them. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. They were late. They didn't use sound equipment. The lights were messed up. I was like, are you joking me? You're punking me, right? You're purposely doing everything wrong. Then I hired somebody else to do a contractor thing. They botched the job. My fault because I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't check references. I did not check past work, whatever. So I was like, well, I need to fix that. So I called another company who had a fantastic website. I was like, this website is so pro. I just have to call them. I called them. Their salespeople were good. Their on-site person was good. Then I was like, but they were so expensive. Well, they weren't so expensive. They were relatively expensive to the person who botched the job. But then again, what was the cost of that, right? Yeah. Then they came in. Not only that, they went above and beyond. They did a Loom video explaining what they did. They did a Loom video what they're going to do. And I'm like, how did I not hire them to just do everything? Mm-hmm. So now I have, because they showed up. They showed me what they stand for, what they represent, what they can do. And I was like, and then they did the work, right? Mm. And I'm like, oh my God. And that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating when there's not enough opportunities. And we were talking earlier about how in the last few weeks, there's been opportunities that came up for me and I didn't get them. And I was rejected by them. And I was like, excuse me? You're rejecting me? And a friend of mine was like, that's ego. Yeah, that's ego that you're reacting that way. But then I went to my friend ChatGPT and I told them the situation, and they're like, well, maybe you're pursuing say it nicely, you're pursuing the wrong opportunities for you. One opportunity was not a paid opportunity. And I thought I wanted to do it, but I knew it was gonna be a lot of stress. Mm-hmm. I knew even when I met, I was like, if I get this gig, we're gonna be butting heads. And I don't know if they were wise enough to know that even though they were young, they were probably like, I'm scared of this man, right? Because they should have been, because I was scared of that. Yeah. And it wasn't a good fit. And I'm so glad that they had the wisdom to be like, not you, uncle. And it's like, thank you, because it would not have been a good thing. I wish I could have helped them in a different capacity. I wish they'd asked me to help them in a different capacity, but they didn't, and that's okay. But in the time, I was like, how dare you send me this pre-formatted rejection email, right? Ego. Then another thing was I applied for an opportunity and I didn't get it, but I didn't really want it. And I was going to turn it down, but it's only when they said, oh, we went in a different direction. I was like, how dare you? And I was pissed for a day. And then I was like, but did I want to do that? Is it in line with what I want to do? Mm-hmm. So it goes back to that destination point thing of where do you want to go? All of the people that I've interviewed back in the day when I was on eTalk and got to interview a bunch of celebrities at pivotal points in their lives. Justin Bieber, Lady Gaga, Beyoncé, Will Smith. Somebody asked me, what do they all have in common? And I would say that they had clarity. They were direct in their direction. I want to go there. I'm going to go there. Think of any time you're like, I'm going to go on a trip. I want to go to New York. Go to New York. Well, there's lots of ways to get to New York. You could walk. It's going to take a while. You could drive. Still going to take a while. You could take a bus. Take a bunch of buses. You could fly. You could do a combination of things. You could stop in different cities. But if you're like, I need to get to New York by this date because that is the closing night of the show I want to go see, you set a deadline, which really is kind of, for me, especially with ADHD, is a lifeline. Yeah. You're like, it is now invigorating me to get shit done. Think about any time you go on a trip. The day before you leave, you're like, I'm gonna get so much shit done because I gotta pack, I gotta get my family ready, I gotta get this, I'm gonna do all these little things, I'm gonna do all these errands and tasks that I put off for weeks because I'm like, before I go, right? Before you go on a vacation. And it's like, it's invigorating. It's a bit stressful, but it's invigorating. So setting those deadlines for the destination, but being clear on the direction. If you're like, I'm going to get there by any means necessary, we can do it. You know, it's like what Yoda says, there's no do or do not. There is no try. Like, I'm going to try that thing. I'm going to try and be that. Either you are that thing or you're not. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you get paid or not. Do the thing. If you do the thing, then that is the thing you do. And then we don't need to become we do not need to intrinsically identify ourselves with that thing. You know, when people say, don't take that personally. Well, how are you expecting me to not take that personally? Because you're judging that on the work that I personalized. But I think there's a difference between making it personalized and making it internalized. I am not the thing. That rejection, I'm sure people have heard this, but that rejection is a redirection. I don't want you here. You're not invited. You're not welcome here. Maybe they're not that rude about it, but they're like, move along. Yeah. Cool, move along. Go to the next thing. What's the end goal? Those opportunities that I talked about are really not in line. I do think I want to direct again. Like, I love the idea of community and community theater, but it's like those things I said earlier about like the other things you have to come up, finding a producer, finding a venue, finding a cast. It gets very expensive. Whereas like, honestly, if you want to just direct a show, you can use AI to take your ideas, bring them to life, and then make little video vignettes. And then someone sees that and they're like, hey, can you do that in real life for me? And I think that's the case. Like when we think about creativity and people are like, I'm not creative. And I disagree. I used to think that's the case. Some people are creative. But I think in a spiritual, metaphysical sense, whatever that great thing out there is, God, the universe, source, the creator, and if we're created in the likeness of that creator, well, then we're all creators. And even just like right now, how you decided to show up today and put together this look and your hair color and this studio and these lights and how you do that. Well, you created that. No one can negate that you created. Whatever you made for lunch today, if you made your lunch, you created that. If you went and bought it or whatever, you created that.
Yeah.
I think the difference is a matter of taste. Ira Glass has a video about, what were you gonna say?
The gap.
The gap.
Yeah.
So yes, and that's what frustrates me sometimes too. It's like, you wanna be here because you have experience and you wanna get to this point, this destination point, but you're here. So how do you close that gap? It's a matter of taste. And sometimes people just have bad taste. And sometimes you can look and be like, that's the warning sign. Someone could look at this and be like, why is he wearing a shiny pleather jacket? Vinyl. I don't know what this is material. They're like, I don't like this guy. Shiny jacket man with flashing lights, right? Cool.
Yeah.
You're not my tribe, you know? Or something else will be like, scrolling through, they'll be like, neon green hair, shiny jacket. Let's watch these guys, right?
Yeah.
And then we might just find somebody else who can be a part of our community, whatever that means, right? But I do think it comes to a matter of taste, and that's what brings us together. And back in the day, there was less things on the buffet. Now there's things for everything, and that's why everything is so splintered and fractured, right? But I think that as we do more and we share our tastes, that's an opportunity to enroll people to be like, hire me for my work. This is what I stand for. This is what I stand up for. This is what I show up for. And then people will be like, oh, that's for me. That's for me. I've been looking for that. It's like the reverse bat signal, you know, when people, Commissioner Gordon throws a bat signal up there and the Batman's like, I'm gonna come. But like, we got to put a signal up there so that people can be like, oh, is that like the Jesus thing? Is that what the North Star was? How the wise man found Jesus?
I guess so.
There was like a star up there and they're like, we going there. I think that's what it was, right? And Jesus Christ, you know, again, going back to the Broadway thing, Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
I love the line from the show at the end when Judas, spoiler alert, dies and then comes back and he sings right before the end of the show and he says, if you'd come today, you would have reached a whole nation. Israel for BC had no mass communication. In this era, the only true gatekeeper is us. If you are willing to do the work, and I have to admit, sometimes I'm not willing to do the work because I get overwhelmed, I get tired, I get distracted. But if I do the work, everything we want is achievable. It's not gonna be easy. I think it can be simple, but it's not easy, right? You wanna direct a show, there are people who want to do all the other parts that go into helping you direct a show. You know, there's people who want to produce shit and finance stuff.
And like you said, you can now direct things on AI.
Yes.
Do it.
Yeah, you could make the Okay, so that's what I even did. So the last show I ever directed in 2001 was The Wiz, Motown version of Wizard of Oz, usually done with an all-black cast. Did it here in Vancouver. It's not a lot of black people in Vancouver. But a friend of mine, she's like, I found your application. Like I was like trying to get a grant or whatever. And there were sketches I had done for what the scarecrow should look like. And it's actually quite scary looking. And this was before Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins. So, and I was a big comic book fan. So I must have seen some like DC comics of the scarecrow. So I drew the character like the scarecrow from the DC comics. And so recently I just put it in Nano Banana. And I said, make this a costume. And I was blessed because the woman who went on to be the costume designer for Riverdale, the TV series, for 7 years, she was my costume designer on The Wiz.
Oh, no way.
So we had some kick-ass fucking costumes back then. But I gave Nano Banana my sketch and I was like, make it. And the first one it did, it made it kind of look like the Shy Guy from Super Mario 2.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. Make it a burlap. And so it did it. And I was like, no, change the body so it looks like it's made out of different textures. And it did it. And I was like, so if I got more adept at AI, I'm like, can you animate this? Can you now sync this with a song? I could direct the show that way. Then there's also says in the script that the Yellow Brick Road is portrayed by dancers. And so I had sketches of a dude in a gold suit and a woman in a gold suit, kind of based on the finale of a chorus line. And I said, make this a thing.
Yeah.
And it did. I'm like, now give it canes. And it did. And I was like, so you can just build anything you want now. But I think what's missing with the artificial intelligence is the humanity of it.
Yeah.
How do we share it with people? How do we build community with it? Yeah. And I think that exercise there would be a prototype to be like, well, I want to do the show again. This is what it looks like. Let me do it.
And maybe you'll get in the view of the right person to see it.
Yes.
But I think what you're right, like experiences, I think, are trending upwards because we're craving real life experience with other real humans. So I think you're spot on there. No questions.
I think you've asked me only 3 questions and I talked for a fucking hour.
That's why I have you here. One thing that has helped me and my wife actually get through some fights is I'm a talk to thinker, meaning verbally process, and she is a think to talker. She'll curate in her own brain everything she wants to perfectly communicate and articulate, where I was like, oh, maybe I want sushi for lunch or a burger, but I'm trying to be healthy. And she's like, what are you doing? Like, just, do you know what I mean?
I do know.
Are you a think to
I'm
talker?
both. As you said that, I was thinking, and I realized it's in 2 ways. When I'm working, like in my quote unquote day job, and I'm sure of something, and I'm like, is this pertinent to me? Can I help solve the problem? I used to speak to be, what's the saying? I used to speak just to talk. Now I speak to be heard or to make an impact. This is what I think. This is what I think can help us. But I'm not just going to talk for the sake of talking. Though, in this kind of thing, I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to answer because I haven't thought about, because like we wrote questions down, but then we just kind of, you asked me one thing and I just rambled, riffed, and kind of was like, well, I know this, I'm going to share this, but I'm both of those things. It depends on what the context and the gravity of the situation. Like if I know, when Oprah's like, what do I know for sure? Well, if you know it for sure, I don't need to say a lot of things. But if I'm like, I don't know, I do need to talk it through. Again, it's why I love having conversations with ChatGPT, because I can talk it through. And sometimes I've already decided before it's done. I'm like, no, I've already decided. It's like what I miss about my dad, because my dad and I didn't always agree about everything, but I'd say something. And if he disagreed, I'd be like, no, I'm right. Or I'd be like, oh, no, you're right. Yeah. But it was having that contradictory point of view. And that's why it's good to have conflict sometimes, because someone's like, well, do you really believe that? How committed are you to that idea? How committed are you to that process? How committed are you to that thing? Or can someone just be like, say something like, oh, I never thought of it that way. Maybe I'm going to flip my thinking. And that's why I think dialogue is good to go from talk to think. But sometimes when I know for sure, I'm like, no, don't think to talk. Like, do the thing. It's like, as a yoga teacher, I'm a certified yoga teacher, believe it or not. But it's like one of the things I learned through that is like when you do, anytime you move into a new posture, and I think it's how we do life successfully. You discover, I'm going to discover. So we're going to go into mountain pose. What does mountain pose look like? If you don't know the move, you're like, let the teacher, the guide show you what it is. Somebody else in class do it. Discover, okay. Now decide, I'm going to do this to what extent? How low am I going to bend my knees, 90-degree angle, extend my leg, plant my foot? Then do it. And then sit in it as long as you physically can. Or like you decide to hold the pose. Discover, what are the options? Decide, commit to it, then do. Now do the thing. And I think that actually applies to any kind of life process or creative endeavor. Discover, decide, do.
How important is like decisiveness? Like I have seen it from you multiple times. You're like quick and you're like, nope, yes, that's the right way. And I've also seen how like really high up CEOs or people I look up to in business, they're quick and decisive.
Yes.
And then other people, maybe it's choosing their photos that I take. They're so wishy-washy and they're so like they take forever to choose or they don't know and they want my opinion and they want this person's opinion. Decisiveness, because like sure, so there's discover, but then you still have to like do it.
Yeah.
And have you noticed a correlation of successful people and decisiveness?
Without a doubt, because like I said, when I know for sure, I am very clear. But often when I'm wishy-washy, which happens a lot, that's probably my greatest downfall is indecisiveness. It's because you don't know where you're going. Going back to New York, if you're like, I'm just going on a trip, where are you going to go? I don't know. You don't know? Okay, well, have fun. And that's okay. Like, I don't know if you ever have this opportunity or if you have this opportunity. It's like, just go for a drive. Get in the car. I would never do that because I need somewhere to go. I need to be like, one of the things I miss is my parents lived in North Delta. So I grew up in North Delta and I don't go back there anymore because my parents aren't there anymore. But I just realized I just want to go to North Delta, especially with my reunion that I was talking about. It's like, what if I just drive to North Delta and go, you're going to go to the Walmart in North Delta. And then there'll probably be other, what is else catching my fancy? I'll go to the Party City that used to be at Chapters, which I really miss. Or I'll go to the Staples because they always have cool shit for sale at that Staples and London Drugs. Or the Winners, because people in the burbs don't buy the shit that I would buy in the city, right? And it becomes this adventure. So sometimes you don't need a destination, and that's okay. But if it's critical and there's lots of money on the line or there's a purpose on the line, it doesn't serve anyone to be indecisive. And sometimes the indecision can be the decision. We need to do it two ways because we're going to A/B test it. So I need to look at, that's a decision though. I need to look like this, I need to look like this. Put the two up and we'll see which one the audience chooses, right? But that's still decision making. You're doing two decisions and then the audience gets to make more decisions.
Yeah. I think where I see indecision really affect people is really starting a thing or posting that post or creating content regularly. Is that well, what will people think? Or should I do it this way? And then they just do nothing.
Right.
Where I would feel I'm on an extreme, a different extreme where I'm just I have an idea, create it, post it, and I move on with life. And there isn't really much with this little podcast, this convo, whatever this is. I was want to create something? Let's do it Wednesday.
Yeah.
And you were oh, next week? I was yeah.
Why would we wait?
Why would we wait? Yeah. And I don't know necessarily if this is going to bring me to where I'm going or reach a specific person that I'm trying to reach.
Right.
But I was I want to do something with you. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to know if you had thoughts on.
I think it comes down to having a clear reason why. I should read Simon Sinek's book, Find Your Why, or Start With Why.
Yeah.
Find What Your Why is the workshop, the workbook that goes with it. And a friend of mine who I went to theater school with, who is a coach and a writer, she's you need to know your why. And I think I've lost my why. I know a lot of things about a lot of things, but okay, so what? What is my point? And I think that I don't know what my point is anymore. I, as a kid, knew I would have a talk show. That's not a thing anymore.
A dog show?
A talk show.
A talk show.
A dog show.
I was what?
No, I don't like dogs. I don't mind dogs. Somebody asked me about that today. Animals love me. I have history not great with animals, so I don't need that. But to have a talk show, you see what happened to Colbert, what will happen to Kimmel and Fallon in 5 years. It's everything's moving to the internet. But it goes back to the idea of the gatekeeper. No one will stop you. You can just do the thing. And if people are going to show up, people are going to show up. It's like throwing a party. If you throw a shitty party, no one's going to show up, right? They might show up just out of kindness for you. They're not going to come back to your next one. Yeah. So if you can do your party, put on a good party. And then the next time they'll be Rob's party was so good. Yeah. We got to go back to it. And you should come. Or I'm going to go back to it and I'm not bringing you because it's so cool. I meet new cool people. Yeah. I have, do you know Eric Sadie?
I knew.
You know of him.
Of him, and we've briefly met. But
okay. No. So there's a photographer, a friend of mine, who throws these parties. And every time I go, I just meet interesting people. Yeah. I don't even spend a lot of time with him. But just the people that he's brought into his orbit, I'm that's cool. I like that. How do you cultivate that? But I think that it comes down to the clarity and being direct in your direction. And that helps with the decisions. Mm-hmm. When, after my parents passed, I was where do I belong? What city should I live in? Should I stay here in the Vancouver area? Should I move back to Toronto? I have a place out there that a tenant destroyed. And I'm well, if I don't know if I want to live in it, I don't know how much I want to fix it up. Or the place here, I'm I got it and I shouldn't have got it, but I bought it at a difficult time. And again, it's I don't know what to do with it. Because I'm not clear on what my direction is, I can't make the decisions. Yeah. And you can just make a decision to make a decision, or not make a decision, but that in itself is the decision. Yeah. So again, it's what are you doing? And then also give yourself grace. If you're if you don't know, you don't know. And that's okay. But then just admit you're I don't know. And what I need to do now is not figure out, do I do a reno? It's where do I need to live to do the thing that I want to do? So now it's not a question, where do I want to live? It's what is the thing I want to do? And how am I going to do it? And who are the people I need around me to do it with me? Who are the people coming on that game with me? And who are we serving? Who is the audience? Who is the community that we're supporting? Then you decide where you want to live. Then you decide where you do the rental, right? So it's sometimes we're trying to decide the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Right? It could be simple. Again, I keep coming back to your hair color, but it's like, I'm going to choose this hair color. Why? Because I fucking like it.
Yeah.
It's bringing me joy. That's it. It is not, but it could be a branding thing.
Yeah.
But not necessarily, right? But you're like, that's the decision I'm making.
Yeah.
I want to eat sushi. There was a woman, I don't know who she is, but she did this little test. It's a cute little video. I just saw it this week. And she's a doctor of some sort. She goes, I have a Snicker bar and another Snickers bar. Which one do you want? And then the host was like, eh? And then, she's like, it doesn't matter. And then the doctor was like, yeah, because they're both the same. It doesn't matter what the outcome is. But I got a Snickers bar and an Almond Joy. Which one are you going to pick? And the host's like, the Almond Joy. And then the doctor was like, yes, because you have a preference for the Almond Joy. But when it comes down to Snickers bar and Almond Joy, and you're like, I don't have a preference, it's because the doctor is arguing that because you don't care what the answer is. It doesn't matter. Yeah. They're both the same. For different reasons. They both have values. They both have values. They have pros. They have cons. It doesn't matter. So you got to get clear on what's your guiding light. Going back to baby Jesus, what's the North Star that's guiding you? And again, it doesn't need to be forever, but for this season, you have to decide your reason. I don't even try to do these rhymes. They just happen. But it's like, for this season, you got to decide your reason and let that be the decision-making guide. Otherwise, you're like, well, why are you doing anything? And it can just be because it's fun.
Yeah.
Cool. But then don't be like, oh, but then I got to make money off of it too. But it's true. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, get clear on what's important to you. Or don't be avoiding. It's like, I've been avoiding these renos for like 2 years now. How much is that costing me, right? Mentally, like literally, spiritually, sapping my spirit. Like even as I get closer to the resolution, I feel lighter. It's like, make the decision. Going back to The Wiz, there's that line in one of the lyrics that says, don't you carry nothing that might be a load. Just ease on down the road. And I save everything. I collect everything. Because I'm like, I might need it later. And usually I do need it later. I'm like, I'm glad I still have that thing. But do I need 12 of everything? No. But then you gotta make decisions, which I'm not very good at sometimes.
In your story, from TV hosting, and now you want to start doing some public speaking, and you're starting to apply for things like that. What are the common threads? Like
the common threads from my career, has always been putting the spotlight on other people, which is funny. Sort of, because people are like, oh, you're extroverted. Not really.
Yeah.
Like, I am animated. I can be extravagant, flamboyant, energetic, but like, usually I'm like, I would rather sit alone and be quiet and observe things. That's why I think it's like I'm a better director than I am a on-stage performer. But I do like sharing ideas and seeing them land. But that's the thing. It's like, I want to see it land.
Yeah.
And I want to see you do something with it, which is really, that's the essence of being a guide, a teacher, a director. Yeah. I'm going to offer you an idea that either I've remixed. Did I come up with it? I think everything's
already been done.
Drawn from somewhere else. And I'm representing it to you. And I'm either teaching you something new or I'm reminding you. Oh, I knew that, but I didn't do anything with it. Well, now you get to, because I presented it again to you. So that's why I like the idea of being a presenter. It's like in England, they call being a TV host a presenter, because you're just presenting stuff that already exists. This exists. I'm presenting it to you, either in an entertaining way, in an educational way, or an inspiring way. I think that's what all content should be too.
So in entertainment, education, inspiration.
Yeah.
Education, entertainment, inspiration.
Yeah.
Those three things.
Yeah. One criteria I always say, that I used to say when we were Daily Hive, a criteria for content is it's got to be hot, hilarious, or helpful. Hot as in it's trending, or like sexy, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why you can get like nudie pics anywhere, but like you see that, people are like still titillated by that, right? They are. Like one of the things, like one of my favorite shows is the musical Hair. And it's still shocking to this day that people are like, is the nude scene in it? The nude scene's not even the script. It was just a defiant thing they did in the 60s that just kind of got carried on in tradition. But the fact that it could be is like, there's a big naked. Have you not seen a naked person? You see a naked person every day when you get out of the shower, you look in the mirror. Like, you know what a naked person looks like. But it's like, what?
Yeah.
It's on the internet everywhere. But it's like, but anyways, sexy or trending, like hot, hilarious. Is it at least mildly amusing?
Yeah.
Is it entertaining? Like, it doesn't need to be like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. But does it make you go like, LOL? Like, you know, is it enough?
Is it relatable? Is shareable? Like, so that's...
Yeah. It goes back to the idea of being entertaining and then helpful. Yeah. Like, does it teach me something? Does it guide me towards something? Yeah, but then it's also the inspirational part too, because like that helped me be a better person. It helped me reorient my purpose or whatever. So I think that, yeah, it's like, it's got to be educational, entertaining, or inspirational, but then the idea of being hot, hilarious, or helpful. And I think my entire career has been helping other people tell their story, put it into the spotlight, and show other people, audiences, why what that person is offering fits that criteria and why you should consume what they're putting out.
Love that. I think that's super helpful.